Hello and welcome to warblog. I've just created this Northern Hammer game, just really just to keep some sort of momentum and creating some scenarios going. To be quite honest, I don't think there were probably as many units as we've got here involved in what's going on here, but it is sort of interesting. I'm just looking at this south front link. I mean, it's fairly small, but the map is sort of interesting. Basically, it's saying that these Jund al-Askar terrorist group, as it describes them adjectively, are advancing into sort of all this Syrian government territory. And I mean, I just don't really know much more than what's on this picture, so I couldn't say. But when someone in the comments sort of suggests there's probably not a lot of them, and I was imagine, it's a complete guess here, there's probably not particularly big places or well contested. You know, capturing them probably, you know, say driving a car through and waving out the window, but you know, it's not like that. But you know, they spent 3 days getting all of this area. Another sort of 11 days or something getting all of this. So really I don't really know. It just sort of I can't really imagine that these people are actually making huge ground against sort of what is a fairly sizable army now. They're probably just sort of empty. But anyway, so I've created this scenario based on this map, pretty much. Now, as I say, because it's probably a little smaller scale, when you look at this, there probably aren't really this many units. You know, this is rocket and off black. This looks a bit off to me. It's not quite black. Yeah. I mean, you know, this is I think there's some strong companies, but a company is minimum like 200 men. So, you know, there's about 3,000 people there. So I don't think I really got that many. Probably only fighting about 500. So I should really sort of go down to sort of platoon section level, but you know, I'm not like that. So, and interestingly enough, if you sort of look at the map, they're sort of gouging this thing out here. When you look at it like that, it looks as though it's almost the front line going straight through. So really, this is sort of like the anchor. So it's supposed to take out all of this. I was going to put some troops over here, but I haven't. So I think what's missing in this is the long-term dynamic, because you know that there's no sort of, well, you know, if you take all of this, all the Syrians need to do is bring up some armour, and they probably run away, or bring in some airstrikes. They don't want to airstrike these villages that they're probably trying to win over. So, you know, I don't think that this sort of little small thing is probably, you know, it's not like Operation Barbarossa, or, you know, it's just an opportunity, opportunists, I think, you know, based on the grand scheme of things. But I sort of put it together. I like the sort of the temporal bookmarks, as I sort of think of them as, you know, some, another point of reference. I mean, as I was doing this, I noticed that in quite a few of these places I've actually entered the names in because they're in the auto memory as part of other maps. I might have a little blast at it, because one thing I do like is these smaller games. Now, one thing I would note is that I've got the irregulars, but they don't have the magic 5 attack, so they're not really of much use. But if they get attacked, they should run away. And also, the other thing I noticed was, I didn't sort of do it on purpose, but they look pretty much like a huge line, just like there's quite a few war games that detail the Middle East conflicts from, like, you know, the BC period, AD. Sort of, I don't know the kind of name there. Any of them are. They've got funny Greek names, and Theodopotis and Alexander the Great, I think, was a name that springs to mind. And riding around in their chariots and picking open ground, and it looks like that. You know, they're sort of going to march forward in formation with their spears and, you know, take out these irregular barbarians. But obviously, it's not like that. It's, you know, very different. So it sort of looks a bit like that anyway. So the irregulars, I mean, it just sort of happened like that, and something. Well, these regulars are a bit like skirmishers, you know. You know, is this actually something that I've not thought of, and is that, you know, can you use them like that? But anyway, so I thought I'd just sort of work them on like that. I mean, to be quite honest, I've ordered them so that the ones that are tens are the ones that go first. So you take these, then that one, and then this one. That represents the sort of period that correlates with this map 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just sort of, you can do it however you like. I'm going to move these irregular sort of one hex at a time. I'm going to pin these units down. I'm going to use them to sort of pin. So I don't know how that will work, but in basically, you know, if they attack them, 90% chance this unit will run away. So I'm trying that. But here, we're going to have a laugh, I think. I mean, let's just see. I mean, that should be a 7 to 1. 7 to 1, defender eliminated. I think the point I was trying to get to before, if we just steamrolled over all these units, what's stopping us from heading south to whatever's south? Hammer, which is the main objective. You know, there's nothing there. Well, we can assume that, you know, these objectives are there to maintain, you know, that advance, so they will stop after that. It doesn't mean they won the war. But anyway, so that's, I'm not sure what the balance is around, you know, all of this. Rockets and artillery. Let's see what we do with this motorized unit. Right in there. Okay. Okay. Now, I don't know if you paid any attention to the sort of structure of all of that, but that is definitely an off black. There's lots of these little companies, and there's two sort of big battalions that are, which I'm pretty sure I probably don't have. But I'll actually use these to sort of threaten and maintain a flank. Moving that there sizable unit sort of puts a bit of pressure on these to not come in this direction. Okay, I don't want to sort of start looking for units I haven't moved. I'm just going to move ahead. So press the end turn button. So I think there's sort of shift. There we go. Let's just move. Okay. So Syrian player. Oh, let's see. Move into there. And let's move this into there. Let's see what happens when we attack something with regular units. Okay. So we've got the best result. We've got a defender retreat. We've got no depressions from that. So we managed to get him to retreat, but I retreated to there. I did that then because I wanted to get him out of the zone of control, but frustratingly, I think he's still got that -3, so that doesn't work. So that's a little bit of a thing that I'll have to figure out because he can't move now. He stopped because he entered that zone of control. I should have done that first. Oh well. Let's just check that. Okay. Let's move some of these units up here. Okay, so it's now getting tough. I was going to move them there, but to be quite honest, they're not that tough. I was reading some books the other day about some of the development in what they call, I can't remember it, doctrine, military doctrine, and about the advancing lethality in war. They were mentioning about, in the Second World War, it would take a tank 20 rounds at 1,000 yards to hit and destroy a tank, whereas in modern war, you would do that, you would destroy a tank within one hit. And it's saying it's really not a case of skill anymore, it's more a case of who gets the first shot. It's all about talking about doctrine and the benefits of defence and the Russian military strategy of just saturating areas with artillery, destroying absolutely everything, and then pounding massive tank divisions through gaps into the rear of the enemy, and things like that. And basically talking about sort of the requirements that old doctrine was formulated would say, to take a defensive position you would need like 3-1 odds, and that was sort of true in the Second World War. And then it just goes on to say that in modern conflict, what you do, you basically aim the military commanders, battalion leaders, regimental leaders, division leaders, etc. They should be planning according to modern doctrine for concentrating firepower, and getting odds of 20-1. So I mean that's sort of what modern doctrine is all about. I mean a lot of this sort of, I think there's an underlying tone that 3-1 is the odds you need for an attack. Well, modern doctrine for modern warfare actually looks at things like concentration of firepower at 20-1, and that's sort of what we're sort of looking at here. There's no real front line. When there's attack, he will choose his attack, concentrating his firepower on one unit, maybe that unit or this unit, where they've only got 2, and then get maximum odds. Similarly with these Al-Askar units, they're not going to move forward in a big long line, rather sort of like they did there and get that 7-1 odds. And that's, I just sort of mentioned that. There's no real point on the end of that, but it amazed me that, how I haven't finished reading the book. I keep picking it up and reading the same thing about 10 times. And getting further than that, but the whole idea that doctrine sort of controls the odds that you need struck me as sort of interesting. And having to get 20-1 odds, just sort of. Anyway, so we're getting to the end of the sort of first bit of turn. Whose turn is it? I think I'm going to attack this irregular unit here. Okay, defender eliminated, but he was irregulars. See you in a minute. Okay, well, completely forgot what I was talking about. So, I think what I was contemplating was it's the Syrian turn, and I'm not really sure I want to sort of start moving anything around. These people seem to have moved. I've probably done all that over here. Oh yeah, I think what I was sort of going to comment on was it's a 90% chance of getting that. So they are sort of worth it, but the whole point of irregulars is they'll just evade combat. I'm still sort of working through how that actually plays through. Here, well, in your own time. Reload. Okay. So we've sort of got a front line. You really don't want to move that too much. I don't want to do too much thinking. I was also wondering, would there be any point in moving, advancing forward on that? I'm going to sort of leave that as it is. What's this guy? Let's see whether we can move. It's only a 2-to-1 attack though, that's the thing, even so. They're not insurgents, they are still units. A 2-to-1 attack? So what does that represent? That represents sort of a small irregular unit out there in the hills, possibly, behind some walls in the rough country. And they really don't want to go after them, even though they're not afraid of losing. They'll just run away and they could lose. They could get ambushed. Obviously not technically, but you know, looking at it that way. So I'm going to leave that turn. So I think the Jundalaska, Axa, whatever it is, Jundalaska, were a little more confident. But I think they lost a bit of their confidence when these big units turned up. There's one there, one there. Well, I'm going to keep the game plan going for all of this. I don't know why that didn't go. Oh no, it didn't seem to have gone down at all. I'm not sure whether or not there's something wrong there or what. Okay. Next, I think I'm going to sort of use this unit to kind of budge up there. And him down here. Two companies in there. So that's scary. Well, I think I'm going to go for some sort of combined arms. It's not the game that's slow. I'm running multiple processes, and clearly the computer is getting frustrated at that. And this irregular unit is going to move around the back. Now what this gives me is an opportunity there, but I want to sort of move maybe some of these units. These moved. Actually, it might not be the computer. I actually bought some batteries. Usually I rely on rechargeable ones for my nice mouse. I'll just one thing led to another. I didn't really have the inclination to do that. I think it was the batteries going out on that. They don't last that long. Batteries just don't last long anymore. There's only a mouse. Well, this is a tough one, I think, and I think that was a mistake. I won't do a single movement for him. A bit too close to that unit, but I don't think they will attack, so I'm going to go and commit this attack here with all my artillery. That is definitely off colour. Should be only 4-5 to 1. 5 to 1, defender retreats. So we win there, but no movement left, and I don't want to leave my motorized unit alone in there, so they'll probably take that back next turn. And for the sake of speed, I'm just going to go for what I'm not going to sort of sit and double check and triple check. Okay, so at least it's working a bit. It now seems to have gone down to the next level. Maybe it was me just thinking, well, I thought it should have happened last time because I was in there. But there you go. So now I haven't entered Halfaya because I don't want to get trashed. Now, do we let these irregulars just go around the back here? Or what? Do I have to attack them every turn? Now, I don't want to sort of try this flank because we've got that unit there. We've got some irregulars here though, which are going to be a pain. And when they're fully up to speed, they'll be able to attack that at a 5. Or anything is a 5 that's less than 5. I'm going to attack that. And then we have to keep some pressure up on these irregular units. There's an exchange. Now that he got an exchange, but he didn't because they ran away. That's interesting. I'll have to keep thinking about that. Anyway, so they're difficult. It was an exchange and he didn't run away, so he didn't have to retreat anywhere. Quite powerful little units. Okay, so Syrian units, do they want to counter strike anywhere? They really are in a defensive position, and they're going to have to keep it that way. I'm going to pull this little unit off this way. And this little unit goes to, where's that place? Saran village. Saran. So Saran is the cornerstone here. We've got 4. Now, what we've got here is sort of like an impasse, I think, to some extent, at least from the Syrian point of view, and it's that sort of impasse, or the game balance of that impasse that intrigues me a lot, because you can create a situation where it's not feasible to attack, not just because of the odds, and you actually come up with a front line which is sort of here, and you can almost envisage it, and this sort of they get their sort of front line maps. You know, people that do these maps, you draw a little line that goes across here and maybe through here, you know, with some sort of contact there, but generally speaking the front line would probably go something like that. And you can sort of see it, and you can sort of see, well, you know, where there's no, although there's a big gap there isn't, because it would take too long to sort of move there, and there's this big unit here, so there's no movement, no option for movement there. We don't want to leave these, so there's no movement here. This static position, at least from the Syrian army perspective. And down here, you know, there's just not enough of it to start doing anything that way. We've got a little bit of potential down here. Reload that turn, reload that. A little bit of potential here because we've got, you know, we've got the mechanized unit, but that's basically the, you know, the center of the whole sort of armed force in the area. You know, with a small battalion and a small company. You know, so we've got a bit of potential there, but to do what? To go sort of 1 to, what's that? 4, 5, 6, 7 against 4. So that would be 1 to 1. They've got the combined arms of that. They might be able to get a 2 to 1 at best with the surround. You know, they could get to 2 to 1, possibly a 1 to 1. If they go for the surround, they'll be splitting their units up and risking a counter attack. I mean, it's a static situation really. Here it's it's a bit loose. Thinking, I don't think it's so static for these people, whoever they are, the Junda Alaska people. And here there's not much scope. You know, we've got this big unit here on the flank, which would sort of almost make that a 1 to 1. You know, it's not going to make it 2 to 1 just because he's mechanized. You know, you'll get better odds, but it'll still be a 1 to 1. And here, you know, so it is fairly static, and we've got these little irregular units causing chaos, which is sort of what they do. So I'm interested in sort of this situation. But I think the Syrian player has to be defensive. And on that note, let's end that turn, and we should see some defensive positions coming up now. Yeah, so we've dug in there, you know, so that's going to change the game even more. It's going to make it even more static. So the ISIS player now, did they attack there last turn? Yeah, they did. They got a retreat, but now they've reinforced with those units. I'm going to push that flank a bit, put some pressure over there. Now, I don't think there's any further to move down there, but okay, That was a 15-minute break, and I was sort of feeling about here. I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to get this here. We might have to wait until next turn. I can shuffle these down. No matter how I do it, it leaves it a bit exposed. Let's see what the artillery can do against the... No, don't want to do that. Well, that would be a 1-to-1. That would be a 2-to-1. Have a look at that. Attack there. Let's move this unit down here. I like this slower pace. It just sort of slows things down a bit, I think. Obviously that's what a slow pace does, but I think I'm gonna actually really maybe... So I don't want to leave myself exposed to those, but there's just not enough of them to really be a big problem. So I can get 2-to-1, but I couldn't get a 3-to-1. Oh no, that wouldn't be impossible. But that would leave me exposed to a 2-to-1. I think I'm going to sort of maybe not go for such a large surround, but if I do that, and it's just one unit too few there. Let's see what this guy can do. So, control. That's interesting. Okay, let's just try this. The reason I'm doing this is because that is otherwise a pretty big unit. If I can crack that unit, that's pretty much it, I think. 3-to-1 odds and the worst die roll on the planet. It's little things like that that sort of... At least we should be able to recover. Well, we're going to try this one here. This should be a 2-to-1, possibly a 3-to-1, but I doubt it. Artillery is in range, but there's no any movement. No rockets. Unbelievable. I mean, this is only rolling 12s. 3-to-1, 12s. I mean, the battle could have... I mean, this is just like... you know, both of those could have been significant. This could have been a completely different shape. I mean, I'm not going to pause too long, but it's situations like that you've got to sort of pause and think, well, hang on, what actually happened there? I mean, not so much as into what happened, but I also think of the news headlines, you know, the headlines today in the afternoon or whatever, the massive Junda, Alaska assault on western part of you know, Northern Hammer. A bit failed abysmally. You know, they failed to make progress against the, you know, the stoic defences of, you know, the Syrian army. You know, it's sort of that's what I mean. What happened? You know, this is not just two die rolls. I mean, it's almost a personal battle to some extent. It's like I want to press the I play games and you save it just before a critical battle, and it doesn't doesn't work, you reload the game and go back to where you were and do it until the result where you win. And I play games like that quite a lot. I don't really play that many games, but certain things, because you just don't want to sort of have to actually take a step back and then you know spend huge amounts of game time just recovering to where you were. I think there's a game called Europa Universalis, and it's really good. In a sense, I don't actually really like it in the grand sense because I've actually seen the designers sort of speak about it, and I understand to some extent why it sort of isn't really the greatest game for me in the world. You really only get to play the nation that you play as a role in that nation. You can't win, you can't take over the world as Switzerland, as it says. And it really does sort of take effect. The moment you gain any territories, everyone gangs up on you, and it's 30 points playing. But in that game, you know, you do some quite extensive work, you know, lots and lots of hours, and you save it, you do your combat. If you lose, sometimes if it's not a big one, you can handle it, but, you know, generally speaking. But that's what I'm saying there. You know, it's tempting if I had a reset, I'd do that again because now it's sort of. But the thing is, that is the simulation, or the pseudo simulation that this is really more about. It's like, well, so what did happen? You know, think about it maturely, and so, well, you know, this the headlines would read such and such, and you know, it's interesting because now, although we got this zone control there, zone control there, so this artillery and rockets are sort of very well defended. Gives the Syrian army a little bit of opportunity to go after those things. I don't think they will because they can't move quick enough. But yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not going to really, I've moved most of these units, so I'm not going to really do any more movement because I just want to get on with it. But yeah, the two disastrous engagements for the rebels. I don't know what they're called. So the Syrian army, boistered by their defence in the west, they're feeling, because that could have gone the other way, that could have been routed with 3 depressions. And he has 2 depressions, where did he get those from? I think. They're worth exchanges, I mean, you know, those are good odds, they got exchanges. Now, they can't really go for that. I mean, they could go for one on either of these stacks. But do they want to do that? I mean, you see, it would still only be a 1-to-1. It's not going to be a 2-to-1. Bringing these units out here, 6. It still wouldn't be. Could be a 2-to-1 there, but is it worth it? A 2-to-1? Well, that's a possible attack. Possible, but I don't think that's really what I want to be doing. Big unit here. What's in there? 6 versus. I could get 7 against it. So again, we've got a 1-to-1. There's not much going on there either. I definitely want to move him, I think. Maybe there. Yeah. Now we've got this threat here of that, but I think I'm just going to hold over here. So I think that's pretty much it. I don't want to chase these irregulars now that I'm digging in and I've got this threat. So that's pretty much the Syrian turn. There's no reinforcement, so it is that sort of that sort of static game that I was talking about. So now we've got the John Alaska AXA turn. Now, essentially, these irregular units are actually interesting, I think. in that they can afford to outflank. You can't really put a small unit in that those sorts of positions ordinarily, because you would expect them to be attacked. But he's managed to get to that position, and I'm thinking, there's these two open sort of objectives down here. Now, so I'm going to actually well, or am I? We had 3-to-1 odds there last time. Can I be that unlucky again? I think what I'm going to try and do again, it's a stalemate over here. What I'm going to try and do, I keep trying to refer to this game I play sometimes called Hex Empires. And if you win something, your morale goes up and it boosts other combats that you have not yet done. I think what I'm going to do is move. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go there. I'm going to attack into there. That's going to be a 4-to-1, surely. Oh, what? That is starting to worry me, because I hope that it's not a game error. That's got to be the third die roll of 12 in a row. Now I'm glad I put them both in that stack there. And because of that, I'm actually going to do this attack again. And am I going to get another 12? Of course I'm not going to get another 12. Who would get 4 12s in a row? That's just stupid. It's an 11. Sorry for sounding like that. So there's something that just does not want this assault to go ahead. I think at this stage that they might be inclined to, and I only sort of did that because I wanted to test the things again, but I think that there is definitely an argument now for going home. Also, I mean, who gets 10s, 12s, in exchange? Now, I've only got a minute left, so what I'm going to actually say there is that I'm going to call it quits, because I do want to get on with other things. It was an interesting game. I like that. It's actually these are my favourites actually, because they're nice and simple. You can sort of get into them. You can do the sort of the background thinking. They're not too large. Some of these larger games are just too complicated, especially for doing a video. And so I did enjoy that, and it's sort of game that I might like to sort of do again. And I think it's sort of relatively well balanced as a game, but obviously it's all what happened historically. And I did think that the Judd steamroller over, especially when they took Al Boyder first off. So anyway, that's that. I'll speak to you later.